Before her tragic death, the legendary gospel songwriter Dottie Rambo carried with her not just the glory of fame, but a heart filled with untold pain, pain that only those close to her ever saw. Behind the radiant smile and heavenly voice was a woman wrestling with memories, heartbreaks, and names she could never truly forgive. Born as Joyce Reba Luttrell in 1934, Dottie's story began in the humble hills of Kentucky. From a young age, her voice stood out, not just for its beauty, but for the way it carried emotion that touched every listener. By her teenage years, she was already writing songs that would one day be sung by icons like Elvis Presley, Whitney Houston, and Dolly Parton. Her songs, like He Looked Beyond My Fault, We Shall Behold Him, and I Go to the Rock, became cornerstones of Christian music. But while her songs spoke of grace and forgiveness, Dottie's own life was a battlefield of betrayal, pain, and scars that ran deep. Those close to her said Dottie's faith was tested more times than anyone could count. Her marriage to Buck Rambo, while a musical powerhouse partnership, was also one of deep emotional turmoil. Together, they formed the Rambos, one of the most beloved gospel groups in history. But behind the scenes, things weren't always harmonious. Years of touring, fame, and ministry pressure began to tear their relationship apart. Dottie's health suffered, and so did her spirit. Rumors of infidelity, betrayal, and manipulation swirled within the industry, and though Dottie rarely spoke of it publicly, her close friends knew she carried heavy burdens from people she once trusted with her heart. In an interview once, Dottie admitted softly, "There are people I love but can't forget what they did. I forgive them in my prayers, but sometimes, the pain just stays." Those words revealed a side of Dottie that fans never saw. A side that wrestled with forgiveness, even as she preached it in song. There were names she would not mention in interviews. Industry insiders believed some were prominent gospel figures who had once turned their backs on her during her darkest days. Some say these betrayals came when she was fighting financial hardship and chronic illness, and those she had helped earlier in her career refused to help her in return. Still, Dottie continued writing. Her pain became poetry. Her heartbreak turned into hymns that healed millions. But privately, she was haunted by the memory of those who hurt her most deeply, people she never named publicly, people she couldn't quite forgive before she died. And yet, even amid this emotional storm, Dottie's faith never completely shattered. Her daughter Reba Rambo McGuire once said, "Mama loved deeply. Sometimes too deeply. And when people broke her heart, it left scars that only God could see." As the years passed, Dottie's health began to decline. She suffered back injuries, constant pain, and countless surgeries. But she never stopped writing. In fact, some of her most beautiful songs came during those years of suffering, songs that spoke directly from a soul seeking peace and redemption. It's said that toward the end of her life, Dottie would often sit by the window of her Nashville home, notebook in hand, whispering prayers for people who had hurt her. Some she forgave out loud. Others she left in God's hands. But those closest to her believed that a few names, a few wounds, were never fully healed. In her final years, Dottie Rambo seemed to sense that her time on earth was drawing to a close. She began speaking more openly about forgiveness, not from a place of preaching, but from deep personal experience. At one concert, shortly before her death, Dottie looked out at the audience and said, "Forgiveness doesn't always mean forgetting. Sometimes it means giving it to God and walking away." Those words were more than lyrics. They were a reflection of her own journey. Despite the hurt, Dottie never stopped showing love to others. She mentored countless young artists, opened her home to struggling musicians, and shared her wisdom freely. She was a woman who could have let bitterness take root, but she chose to keep singing about mercy instead. Still, those close to her said there were moments when her pain surfaced unexpectedly. In quiet conversations, she would mention the people who once betrayed her, friends who abandoned her when she needed them most, record producers who took advantage of her, even family members who misunderstood her choices. These were the names she couldn't forgive, not because she lacked faith, but because her heart had been wounded too deeply to heal on its own. Yet even then, Dottie continued to pray for them. In her journals, discovered after her death, she wrote prayers for people who had wronged her. One entry read, "Lord, I want to forgive them, but my heart is still broken. Teach me to let it go before I go home to you." Those words show that Dottie never stopped trying. Her final years were spent in a delicate dance between hurt and healing, pain and prayer. Tragically, on May 11, 2008, while traveling to a Mother's Day concert in Texas, Dottie Rambo's tour bus crashed on a rain-slicked highway. The accident claimed her life instantly. She was 73 years old. The news stunned the gospel community. Tributes poured in from around the world, from pastors, artists, and fans who had been touched by her music. Dolly Parton, her dear friend, said tearfully, "Dottie was one of the greatest songwriters who ever lived. Her songs were messages straight from heaven." But beyond the tributes and tears, those who knew her best remembered the private woman, the one who prayed through pain, forgave through tears, and carried her broken heart with grace. In the days following her passing, her daughter Reba shared a moving statement. "Mama didn't leave this world angry. She left it in peace. There were things she couldn't forget, yes, but she handed them all to God in her final days." Perhaps that was the secret of Dottie Rambo's faith, not that she was perfect, but that she was human enough to struggle and divine enough to keep singing through the pain. Today, when her songs are sung in churches, her spirit still lives on. Her words continue to comfort those who have been betrayed, abandoned, or broken. Because Dottie knew what it meant to hurt, and yet she turned that hurt into hope.